VS Series custom screens. Import and connect to the custom screen simulator, and you can play through the images. We're going to start off with a program that's already been made up ahead of time, and we're going to concentrate on building out custom screens in this example here. So you can see we have a inspection going on here with some pin inspections here. Um, Measuring the distance between the pin and the line. We have a statistics tool that's gathering some statistics on these pins, and we're going to show you how you can put that to use in the custom screens as well. If you go to the dashboard, you can see we got a bunch of things on the dashboard already. But the goal of this video, again, is to show you how to build a custom screen and use the custom operator screens. The VS Creator software needs to be at least version 1.2 to be able to use screens, so make sure your software is updated. You should see the custom screen tab in your VS Creator. Now, if you don't see the custom screen tab, just make sure it's not turned off under display, because you can turn on and off the different views. So if you don't see the tab, make sure it's enabled. And of course, like I said, make sure your software is up to date. Once you're on the custom screen tab, you can start adding pages. They're called pages, but they're basically custom screens. If you want to click the help file here, you can click on this and find out more details in the manual about the custom screens. So if you want to look that up, just click that little help shortcut there. But to add a screen or a page, you can click this add page button right here. Now, if you don't want to start off blank, you can use one of the sample templates. There's two as a default built into the software. So if you want to use one of those templates, check this box right here, this toggle switch here. You can give the page a name if you want. Let's just call this sample for now. And then it's got a page ID number 0, starts off with 0. It can be 0 through 19, so you can have up to 20 pages. So let me just show you first what the built-in sample templates look like, and then we'll build our own. So if you click select, it'll go to the open up the folder where the templates are stored. So you'll see here, just open up this sample folder right here, and then you should find template 0 and template 1. So let's take a look at what template 0 looks like first. So we'll open that up, and I'll show you what this looks like. And you can still edit these. It just starts you off with one of these built-in templates, and you can but you can edit from there, so you don't have to start from scratch. So you can see this one's got a nice little image display here, some results here. This one's geared for like a widescreen format. So again, you can make edits to this. It just starts you off with it, but you can see it's got the program name, the counts, program time, and stuff like that built right on. So if you want to just use that, you can use that as is. Let me show you what the other one, the other template looks like. So we'll go ahead and add another page, because again, we can add up to 20 pages. We'll just leave this page 1 for now, but I'll select template 01 just to show you what that one looks like. And again, we'll go to the sample folder and then choose template 01. So these should already be loaded in your VS Creator software. Contact Vision Support if you, for some reason, do not see those, because we can make sure you get those. But here's what template 01 looks like. It's similar screen, but it's built in a 4/3 format. So if your monitor is not widescreen and you want to, like, it's got a 4/3 inch ratio, 4/3 ratio, you can use this screen. So that's what this is geared for. So a 4/3 ratio here. Now you can change between pages manually when you're editing right here in this top menu bar here. All right. You can also launch the page list here by clicking this button. It'll show you the list of pages here. So here you can see the 2 that we've added. You can delete pages from here. You can copy. You can add more if you want. Copy and paste. You can also export and import screen or pages if you want. Also, you can register your own templates if you want. So once you create your own custom screen that you like, you can register that as a template and then use that as a template. So you can use the VS Creator sample templates or templates that you've created. All right, and you can, if you want to close that out of the way, just close that button. Okay, so now let's build our own screen from scratch so I can show you how to add and edit the different parts of the screen. So let's go ahead and add another page. to our list here. We can call this, I'm going to call it my screen, but you can name it whatever you want. This time we're not going to use a template, so I'll turn that off. Let's just build our own. Here's where you can choose your display size ratio, so widescreen. Widescreen in a horizontal direction if you want. Vertical. And there's the 4/3, and you can also do a 1-to-1 ratio if you want. But I'm going to use the widescreen format, which is pretty typical when you have these days when you have the widescreen monitors, and then click OK. All right, so this will add a blank page to the screens page list, and then we can edit from here. Once you have your page added, to add items to the page, just simply right-click on the screen here, and then click Add. So you can add the different parts. So we're going to go over each one of these parts in this video here. So you just pick the appropriate part. But before we do that, I also want to show you the right-click menu. You can cut and paste things or cut things. You can copy once you start adding items. So you can use your copy, cut, paste. You can delete items. And then as you start adding things to your screen, you can bring them to the front, send them to the back, bring them forward, whatever. So if you're stacking things on top of each other, like a rectangle, things like that, you can move them around. And there's also this align parts section here. So if you want to left align a bunch of text boxes together or center align, etc., so you can do all the alignment functions. So those are all also available under this menu here. So the first thing we're going to start with is we're going to start with adding, right-click, we'll add a camera image. So that's a pretty common part where you can display your tool results. So let's go ahead and, or tool graphics. So add a camera image, and then what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of bring this over to the left a little bit here. You can freely change the size of it. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller just so I can fit some other things on here. But you can freely make it whatever size you want by clicking and dragging on the screen there. As far as the camera image setting here, you can see over here on the property side, here's the general tab that shows the center, where it's located, the height and width and all that. On the custom screen, there's a built-in toolbar display. I will show that when we're running the screen, but that's set for always display as a default, but you can have it only display during mouse over or always hide. So for now, we're just going to leave this always display, but there is a built-in toolbar that is on top of the custom screen when you're viewing them in the browser and things like that. Style and data. So we click back over here. Display target tool. If you click on here, this is what dictates what's going to be displayed graphic-wise in this screen here. So as a default, it's set to display all selected tools one at a time. So you only see one graphic at a time, and you can toggle between the different tools here. But if you want, you can display all regions at once. So if you wanted to see all the regions at the same time, you can turn that on, and you can turn off the graphics if you want. This is just like the default tool that it starts off with, but you can choose, check and uncheck which tools should be included in this image display. I'm going to leave them all checked, but you can uncheck and select the desired tools as needed. Display generation settings will dictate which image is displayed. So as a default, it's just going to simply display the latest image. All right, so if you want to display the latest inspection image, you can leave that as is. Now, what you can also do is you can display images from the archive. As a default, the VS series program, when you add a new program, has a built-in archive of 5 no goods and 5 OKs. So you can display the last no good, for example, things like that. You can also create your custom archive if you want. You can customize an archive and display. You can display archived image. So we're going to leave this screen the latest, and so I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it. So I'm going to copy this piece and then just paste another one. All right, right next to it. And the one right next to it will make this be the last no good image that's in the mix here. So let me just make these a little bit smaller just so I can fit more stuff on here as we build out our screen, but you can make the size you want. Now to make this be the last no good image, we can go to the generation settings here and just change it. So as a default, we can point to the no good archive. I've renamed this archive. So I'll go into settings here and I'll show you. I've renamed it, but as a default, it's called Archive Condition 0. But this is pointing to the no good archive. Now, how do you set that up? Let's click the settings here, right here. So you can see it's already defaulted to, this is the default setting. It's got a display generation of 1, and it's pointing to the no good archive. Now, I renamed this archive to edit the archive conditions. You can access that through this button right here if you want. And you can see there's the 2 archive conditions. So I did rename these so it's a little clearer. This one's called the no good archive and the OK archive, but it might have a different name as a default, archive condition 0 and archive condition 1. But you can create your own archives as needed, refer to those settings as needed. But this will display the latest, or sorry, the previous, or 0 prior, meaning the latest no good image, the last one in the archive. The no good archive itself will store up to 5 no goods, first in, first out. So, for example, say you wanted to display the last 2 no goods, we can have this be condition number 1, and then we could add another condition and make this be 1 prior. So in other words, this is the last no good image, and then this is the one before that, and etc. And we can add more conditions as needed. If you want to add more generations, just simply change this number up to whatever you need. I think it goes up to 10. So you can see it goes up to 10. But raise that number up if you want to add more. And that's what we're going to do. So for our example, I just need the 1. We're going to display the last no good, but you can edit that as needed. And then once that's set, you just select it from this drop down here. So if I wanted that 1 prior, I can do that. And then this is just the latest. So you can set that up as needed. Now, duly noted that the archive doesn't work while you're in setup mode. So to simulate this or to show you this, I'm going to go to run mode real quick, save my changes. I'll show you how this works in run mode, just to give you an idea of how it's holding the last no good. So if I play through these images, you can see that the right side only updates when there's a no good. So it's displaying the last no good image. So that's how you can set that up. Okay, so the next thing we'll add, we'll just work our way through this list here. We'll add an image file. So you can add image files to your screen. All right, so just basically got to add this piece here, and then we need to point or browse and pull in or load in whatever the image file that you want to load in. So if you click this little folder icon, it will allow you to browse and locate the file type that you want. You could do a PNG type image file, a bitmap, JPEG, SVG, GIF. So you can actually load in a GIF file if you want, and you can even load in an MP4 file, so like a setup video type of thing or things like that. You can load in a video. All right, so pretty flexible here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna load in just a sample Keyence logo I have. So I'm gonna pull this in, but you can pull in whatever logo you want for this example. For our example, I'm just gonna use the Keyence logo and just kind of put it up in the upper right corner here, and that's it. But you can move it around. You can actually resize it if you want. Move it around as needed to resize and just put it where you want. But you can put logo files in there. So pretty handy, and can make it really a cool looking customized screen. You can put your company logo on there or whatever image files you want. And we could add more if we want. Just keep adding more image files. Next, let's go ahead and add, right click add. I'm going to add in a rectangle right now, and we'll get back to these other ones too. But for now, I'm going to show you real quick how to add just a rectangle, because I'm going to put a rectangle behind this Keyence logo to kind of highlight it. So I just want to show you what you can do with that. So rectangle is another part that you can add to the page here. So I'm just going to add rectangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it kind of over here in this upper corner by my logo. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the fill color be white. But again, you can customize this however you want. Now, right now it's in front of the Keyence logo, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just right click and send it to the back. So I'm sending it backwards so it's behind my Keyence logo. And it's a clear PNG logo that I have here. But I'm going to leave it like that. But you can change the fill color. You can turn the fill off if you want. Just have a rectangle. Here's the line thickness and then the line color. So you can adjust the color and style and settings how you want it to be as needed. Okay, so continuing with our screen here, let's go ahead and add a text now. So we'll continue along this list. And this time we'll show you how to add a text. So text is just literally like it sounds. It's a fixed text. All right, so I'll add that. So once it's added, you can, of course, edit the text itself. I'm going to make this a current inspection. But again, you can feel free to freestyle this however you want it. I'm going to set the font to 20 so you can change the size. Now, the box will not auto fit to your font, your size, so you just got to grab the box and make it a little bit bigger. But you can change the font color if you want. Let's say we want this to be green, and then you can choose if you want the background or not. I might as well. I'm going to turn the background on, but you can make it bold, and then you can left, center, or right justify if you want. So if you want to center it, we can do that. So then what I'll do is I'll move this and put it underneath our current inspection. Now, the cool thing with text, another thing you can do with the text is you can make it change color based on a judgment result. So if we want this to turn red, for example, here, let me make this a little bit bigger so it fits the text. So say you want this to turn, the text to turn red when there is a no good result. What you can do here is go to the advanced settings here and link it to a conditional value. So whenever you link it to here, when that has a value of 1, it will display this font color. So in other words, we can make it turn red. So if I link this, click this little link button, you can link it to dashboard judgments or specific tool judgments. But in our case, we're going to go to the data list and system tab here, and we're going to link it to our, excuse me, go back to the test. We're going to actually go to the task tab is what I'm going to go to here. I'm going to link it to the fail judgment, or true equals fail. All right, because true is a 1. So when it's true, when it's failed, it's going to be a 1. And when it's a 1, it will display the red. So you want to link it appropriately. So I want this to use this color when it's failed. So I want to use true equals fail. All right, so just simply select that, and I'll click OK. And now, if I play to a bad image, get to one that's no good, you can see it turns red. I can turn that background color on as well. So it changes color based on the main task judgment here. So you can make it change a pretty nice little thing. All right. So we're going to repeat this now for the right side, which is our last no good. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to copy this and paste it. So once you have things added, you can just copy and paste. Now, of course, I don't want this to say current inspection. So I'm going to edit this and just say last NG inspection. I'm going to make this be red because it's always going to be no good. And I'm going to remove that link. So you don't need to link this one. We just want this to say fixed because it's going to be no good anyway. So just remove that link so it'll just display this red color. And now we have a nice little text description for our current inspection that changes color based on the result. And then our last no good result. So now let's right click and add a data item. So data. All right, so click data. Now data could be items from the dashboard or tool results or any thing of value, any value, things like that. So I'm going to go from the dashboard as for this example. So we're going to go to the dashboard here. And on this dashboard, you can see we have a min distance and a max distance here. So I'm going to grab this and I can highlight multiple cells at once. And if you want, we can do a control select. So I controlled select that to grab both these. So I'll click and it will add these items to the list. Now this one kind of went off the screen here, so let me grab it. But you can grab multiple items at once. Let me just line these things up. So I got the minimum distance. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to highlight these items and move these over here. Now what this basically added here is it's a data item. So, but data could also be a string. All right, since we're pulling from the dashboard, it's going to display the string of whatever is in that cell. So I'll go to data, you can see this is cell F11. All right, so F11, if you go back to the dashboard here, was our min distance. So if you change the text here, it'll be automatically reflected here. So it's displaying the string that's in this cell, and then these are displaying the values that are in that cell. So the value could be a string if it's from a cell, things like that, but it'll display it appropriately. So you can see we have our min distance and max distance displayed here. So if we want to display this also for the last no good inspection, we can do that as well. All right, so I'm just going to leave these the default color, but again, you can change the color and style. You can change the number of digits, things like that. Again, left, center, right justify. So I'm just going to leave them the default color, but you can change the color and font size and all that fun stuff if you want. But what we'll do is we'll copy this. Oops, didn't mean to drag that. Control Z that. So I'm going to highlight these 4 items, and then I'm going to copy them. So copy, and then we're going to paste them over here. Now, we want these items here to display the results from the last no good. So similar to what we did with the image display or the camera display there, we're going to go to the data here, data tab, and display generation settings. So this is very similar to what you saw when we set up the screen. So if we want to display the results from the last no good, just simply change the generation to that last no good archive. So instead of displaying the current results, it'll display the results that go with that image. So that's how you can display data that according to one of the archived images. Okay, so as another example of data, so I'm going to add another data item. This time I'm going to pull it from the data list, so the tool results. So for this example, let's say you want the X, Y, and theta, or angle, from the shape tracks tool that's locating the target up in the flowchart here, or it's task, sorry. So again, just like before, we can select multiple items. So I can select the X, Y, and angle all at once. I just did a shift select there. And then you can click OK. And what I'll do, again, we'll add these items to the list. You can see it's kind of over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this down over here and line them up over here. But basically what it added was if you drag it from that list there, you can see it added a little text box that goes along with it. Now you can edit this text box if you want, but as a default, it'll be whatever the item you dragged from the result list. So you can see it's position X, but I can edit what it says and the color and style. It's just a text box, including changing color if you want. And then the value is the tool result. So it's just linking it to the tool result instead of a cell this time. But again, you can change the digits and all the font color and style. I'm just going to leave it default, but again, you can change the color and style of that as desired. Okay, so right click and let's add, this time let's add a pass-fail item here. Basically, this is a built-in graphic that will display the word pass or fail depending on the judgment that you link it to. You can link it to a dashboard pass-fail result, or it could be an individual tool result. In our case, we're going to link it to the main task, pass equals true, or true equals pass. So it'll display, so when it's true, it'll display pass. When it's false, it'll display fail. So whatever you link it to, you just want to have the true condition be the passing condition. So we're going to link it to our main judgment. Now, it does add an automatic text box here. If you want, you can get rid of that. I'm just going to delete that because I just want this little pass-fail graphic. But it's like a built-in graphic here. You can't change what it says. It's automatically going to say pass and fail, but you can change the size, and you can also make the text bigger if you want. But it's going to just automatically default to pass and fail. You can't change the color. It's going to be green for pass, red for fail, and it's going to say pass and fail, but you can move it around. So basically, it's a built-in pass-fail thing. Although you can't change it, you can link it to whatever you want. Pretty typical to link it to the task judgment. So I'm going to put this over here, just near my current inspection, and it'll give us a nice indication of the pass and fail. So that's that kind of just built-in pass-fail graphic. Okay, as we continue on here, I'm going to right-click again. This time we're going to add the mode display. This is another built-in graphic that's going to display whether you're in setting or run mode. So I'm going to click that, and you can see it adds this little box here. Now, this one also is pretty fixed. It's just going to either display setting or running. All right, you can change the font size if you want, and either standard or bold, but you can't change the color of it. It's just a built-in system graphic that's going to show you if you're in setting mode. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller here next to the Keyence logo, just to show you what it looks like. I'm going to go to run mode here. Save my changes. You'll see it'll change to running when you're in running mode. And then when you go back to setup mode, it shows you settings. So it gives you that built-in graphic showing whether you're in setting or run mode. Okay, let's keep going here. So right click and let's add, this time we're going to add the tool result list. There's another built-in item that will display the tool results. So you click this and it adds this box here. Now you can move the box around and resize it. It'll create pages or as needed to toggle through here. But you can see it's going to just a built-in graphic that's going to display the tools. You can't. There's not really much you can change on it. You can change the background color if you want, or turn the background color off. You can change the font color, but it's a built-in like graphic here where the font size is fixed. You just can't, but it'll display the tool results, the basic tool results. You can see here at the shape tracks. Now you can go to data here and you can select which tools you want included in this box. You can see as a default here, it's including all the tools, but you can uncheck certain tools from this list if you do not want them displayed on there. So it's kind of just a quick, handy way of displaying all the results with one quick and easy little box here. So to show you what it looks like, let me go to run mode in this simulator. Just to give you an idea. And let me play on some parts here. So if you want to view the different tools, you could either pull the drop down to show you which tool it'll load in the appropriate tool from the drop down, or you could use the arrows to toggle between them. All right, so whatever the tools that are set to be displayed will be displayed in this list. So again, you can turn them off if you want, but as a default, it will display all the tools. Another built-in item that you can add similar to that is the tool judgment list. So it's very similar to tool result list, but it's specifically for the judgments of the tools, the pass fail. So if I click this, again, it adds a box which you can resize as needed. Now as a default, it shows the execution time of the tools as well, but that can be turned off. So if you don't want to see the execution time, just go to the data style tab here, and we can turn off the execution time, so you can toggle that off. So if you don't want that displayed, let's just toggle that off. I'm going to toggle that off, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and move it down over here, just make it fit. Now, if you can change the size as needed. It will fit the results accordingly. Again, on the data tab here, you can select which tool results or judgments you want displayed here, so you can turn them on and off as needed. So if I just play through these images here, you can see we got a nice quick indication of the pass fail. Now, if you want to change the size of it, you make it small. See, if I make it smaller, it will create pages as needed. So if you don't want it to take up too much space, it'll make pages accordingly, depending on how many items there are. So if you can see, if I make this a little bit smaller, you can see there's actually 2 pages. If I show you what that looks like, just go to run mode to test this. Just give you an idea. So you can toggle between them. So if you want to make it a little bit smaller so it doesn't take too much real estate up, you can do something like that. Okay, so let's continue on. We'll right click and add. This time we'll add a button and show you what that's all about. So you can add buttons to your custom screen. So if I add a button here, I'm just going to take this button and move it down here to the lower left here. Let's say you want to make a button where the user can manually trigger it, for example. All right, so once you add your button, you can go over here and, of course, label the button. I'm going to call it trigger. And I'm just going to leave it, well, maybe we'll make this bigger. We'll make this a 20 font size, but I'll leave the color as is, the font color and the background color. We're just going to leave that default. But here's the operations that happen with the button. It could do up to 8 operations. And an operation basically is either issuing a command, like the trigger command for this case, issue a soft event. So sometimes they can link these soft events to subtasks and have it issue the soft event. You can switch between pages, which is different screens, and I'll show you an example of that as well. And you can also link it to edit region. So if you want to edit the region of a certain tool, you can link it to that. So in our example, I'm going to set it to issue command. And the command for the trigger is TRG, capital TRG, and that's in the user manual. You can look up the different commands, but that's the command for triggering. All right, so now with the click of this button, you can manually trigger as an example. So just to show you what it looks like, we'll go to run mode and test this just to show you the screen here. So if I click this trigger button, in this case we're simulating, but it's triggering the camera, or in this case, the simulator. It's triggering through the images. So buttons can be handy to perform certain functions like triggering or other commands. Another item you can add, if we right-click Add, is called a drop-down menu. So what this is just like it sounds, it's a drop-down menu where the user can select an item from the list that's displayed as text, and it changes the value, whatever value is linked to it, um, to that parameter. Now, this could be a cell on a dashboard, or even maybe a tool parameter that you're setting here. So I'm going to select drop-down menu. Now, for this example, I'm going to link it to a cell in the dashboard. Let's say you just want to change the value of a number in a cell. So I'm just going to click E2 for this example, and we're going to link it to E2. Now, there's nothing in E2 right now, but let's link it to E2. All right. Now, so I have something in there. I'm going to go back to the dashboard here and just put a number in here. Let's like 100 for this example. And again, this could be, and then this could be linked to whatever else you're doing it. Maybe it's a calculation in another cell or what have you. But we'll just link it to this cell, for example. So what we'll do here is we'll add choices. So once it's added, again, you can change the font size and font color, and you can see it's linked to E2 here, but we're going to add our choices. So in my example, I'm going to add 3 choices, and the first choice, I'm just going to call it small, just for example purposes, and we'll have a value of 10 if the user selects small. And then for the other selection here, I'm going to do medium. Again, this is just for example purposes. You could set this up accordingly. And we'll have this have a value of 100. And then I'll choose large, or set large, and then put a value of 500 in here. So when the user selects one of these pieces, or sorry, one of these items from the drop-down menu, it'll pass this value on to cell E2. So to show you real quick how this works, we'll go to run mode in our simulator. And I'll just play an image here. So right now we're set for medium. So again, that's the value of 100 you can see in the dashboard. If I change this to small on the list, you can see it did change cell E2 to 10. And then, of course, if I choose large, you can see it changed this cell to 500. So that's just with an easy little drop-down menu. You can choose or set the value of a cell. As one more quick example of a drop-down menu, you can also link it to a tool parameter, for example. So anything that has like a drop-down list to it, you can link it directly to it. One quick example I'm going to show you is ShapeTrax tool, for example, has a setting for the detection order. Now, we're only detecting one pattern in this example, but say you want to be able to change that. It's just a quick example. Let me show you. So again, I'm going to choose drop-down menu, except this time I'm going to go to the data list and tool settings. And I'm in my ShapeTrax tool here, tool 1. Again, anything with like a drop-down type menu can be selected. So you can see detection order is one of them. So if I add this to the screen, you can see it adds detection order. So it adds a little text box that you can change, but it has a little drop-down where you can select that. So if I go to run mode real quick, just to show you. Now, it's not really doing much in this example because there's only one pattern, but I wanted to show you the operation of it. So I could just, by selecting this drop down, you can change the setting of a tool. All right, so it's another example of the drop down. But I'm going to delete that out of our example for now. Just wanted to show you how you can reference a tool parameter or tool setting. Okay, so now let's add the next item here, numeric input box. So this is a box where you can enter values, like a number, and that could be linked to either a tool parameter or a cell, again, in the dashboard. So I'm going to select that. Again, you could reference tool settings, anything that has like a number, or we can go to the dashboard. So in this case, I'm going to link it to the upper limit and lower limit in these cells. So I'm going to select that upper limit cell and this lower limit cell. I did a control select, and then I'm going to click OK. All right, and it adds those little drop-down menus to our, numeric boxes, and these are linked to our upper and lower limit. So if I want the upper and lower limit right next to it, again, I can add data. If you remember earlier, I can also add the upper and lower limit. I can also use a text box, of course, to put that, but I can just pull that right from the dashboard as well, and then line these up here. So while the machine is running, the camera is running, I could just change the values of those cells through this custom screen. Of course, you could change the values in the cell too, but if you're viewing or accessing the custom screen, I can change those values directly. So if I just give you a quick show you how this works, we'll go to run mode real quick. And let's say I change the value to 180 for the upper limit and trigger. You can see if I go to the dashboard, it's now 180. Now I can change it in the dashboard too, if you have it set up such that like that, and you can see I can also change it there. Now, one thing you can also do with these numeric boxes is you can put a limit or a range. So again, you can change the color and style, so the font color, font size, and all that fun stuff, the digits. But you can also put a limit range. So you like for this example, if I'm using this for an upper limit, maybe I don't want them to go lower than a certain number. So maybe I don't want them to go lower than 180 for the upper limit, and then maybe not higher than maybe 250, for example. So you can limit the range that the user can set. And then the step value is the increment of these little arrow keys. So if you use the little arrow keys, at what increment does each arrow represent? So in this case, it'll go up by 1 each time. All right. And then for the lower limit, I could do the same thing. I can come in here. I don't want them to set the lower limit higher than maybe 179. And then maybe I don't want them to set it lower than 150, for example. So you can limit the range of that numeric box. And again, it can be linked to a cell or a tool pair, anything that's a number, it can be linked to. Okay, so if we right click, if we continue down our list here, you can see there's a checkbox and toggle switch. This may not be very common, but you can link a checkbox or a toggle switch. They do the same kind of thing. You can link them to a true-false setting in the tool. Like, for example, the tool execution. The execution is either on or off, so it's true or false. So you'd link this to like a true-false setting. All right, so as a quick example, I'll choose checkbox, and we'll link this to the execution of a certain tool. So if I go to the data list and the tool settings, let's go to tool number 4, for example, for this one. Let's say I want to be able to toggle tool number 4 on and off, just for example. I'm going to go to the general settings and link it to the execution condition. All right, as you can see, this is a true or false type setting. So by sliding that toggle switch or checkbox, I could turn on and off a tool. So I'm going to link it to tool number 4, execution, and you can see it adds this little checkbox in and a text. So you can change again, just like before, you can change what the text box says, but and this little toggle switch is linked to tool number 4's condition. Now the toggle switch does the same function. It's just a switch instead of a checkbox. So let me just add that. And what we'll do is we'll link that one to tool number 5. So we'll do the same thing, but this time we'll do tool number 5 for an example. And again, we'll link it to the execute condition. All right. Again, you can change the text on these if you want. I'm just going to leave it default for now. And what I'll do is I'll go to run mode and just show you this in operation. So we're in the run mode now. So if I uncheck this box, this is linked to tool 4, if you remember. So now tool number 4 will be not executed. You can see it grayed out. It just took a second there to update, but you can see it grayed out. Now if I check it back on, you'll see the tool will start executing again. And then this one was linked to tool number 5. So if I turn that one off, actually I could use my trigger button here. You can see that turns it off. So not sure how common that is, but you can link that to a true-false type setting. In this example, we did it tool execution, but it could be some other items as well. Okay, so continuing on to our menu here, you can see we have a text input box. So this could be linked to a cell in the dashboard or a tool parameter like an ID reading tool. Like so, ID reading tools like 2D and OCR, they have a registered string that it matches to, so you can link it directly to that or a cell in the dashboard. So what we're going to do is just link it to a cell in the dashboard. So I'm going to add a text input box, and then we'll go to the dashboard, and I'm just going to pick cell E3 as my link. Now there's nothing in E3 at the moment, so that's why it doesn't like that. It's in red. So let me go back to E3 here. Let's just put something in here. I'm going to put ABC123 just to have something in there. And then this cell could be linked to a tool parameter like OCR, like I said, register string. But this text box can also be linked directly to the register string of an ID reading tool as well. All right, so you can see it's linked to E3. Again, you could change the font, color, and style, but we'll just leave it default. Maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger. Let's make it 20 so you can see it a little bit bigger. And then again, you could freely change the size of this box. But if I go to run mode to show you how this one works, real quick. So as we're running here, you can the user can go into this box and type in anything they want, like test, let's say, for example, and then it'll change the whatever it's linked to. So in this case, it's linked to a cell, but if it was the registered string of an ID reading tool, it would be linked to that. So so that can be a handy thing when you need to change a string type parameter. Okay, so another thing that you can add, another item, is a yield rate graph. Now I'll get back to this in a minute here, this graph statistics. So you can actually add a statistics graph if you have a statistics tool. That could be added, but what we'll do is I'll show you the pie. It's a pie chart, pie graph. It's graph yield rate. So let me show you. So add that. It's kind of like a built-in either pie chart or bar graph. You can choose which style you want. I'm going to leave it on pie. But basically, it automatically calculates a yield rate. So I'm going to just make this a little bit smaller so it's not taking up too much space. Let's move some things around here. I'll move this over here, and then I'll put this over here. But you can freely drag the size around. Ooh, let me move that back. Didn't mean to move that. That's okay. And then we put this here. So it's not covering anything, but you can create a little a pie chart, or like I said, it could be also a bar graph. Now, as a default, it's linked directly to the total status. So it'll automatically give you the yield rate of the total status, but you can also link it to a specific tool if you want. You can also link it individually, if you check this box here, to a separate count for pass and fail if you want. But I'm going to leave it the default total status, but it will automatically calculate and show us the total status. You can change the font size to be a little bit bigger if you want, and you can just decide to display the legend or not, but it's just a built-in little total status graphic. So again, if I go to run mode, just kind of give you an idea what it looks like. We'll play some images here, but it's like a running yield rate that you can add real quick to the chart, to the screen here, and without a problem. So I reset just to show you it starts fresh, and we can just again display the results. A couple failures there right early on, so probably because of my limits here. Might want to adjust those, but you can see it's updating as we go along. Okay, so next I want to show you how to add that statistical graph piece. First, you need to have a statistics tool added ahead of time, which you can see we do have ahead of time, which is basically gathering statistics on these pins. But you can see I'm running out of space here, so I'm going to add another page for this to show you this, and then we'll make a button that comes to this. So we'll call this the stats page. So I'm going to call it stats, and I'll leave it the same ratio. And so it's a clean slate here, new page, and I'll add this statistical graph to this screen. You can make it bigger. Again, you do need to link this to a statistics tool, which I do have already. So that's the thing you link it to. So here, target tool, you link it to the statistics tool that you want to display, and then you add the series. So if I click in here, you can see I've added the first number pin 1 results, and it's whatever is inside your statistics tool. So I can add and pick from the drop-down. So this drop-down will display whatever parameters or results are set up in the statistics tool. So I'm just going to add a couple of them here, but you get the idea. So here's pin 1, 2, and 3. I'll add one more, but you get the idea here. And you can see they're being displayed here. And it's a real-time graph. If I play through some images here, actually stats only accumulates in run mode. So if I go to run mode in my simulator, just to show you, it's a runtime graph. It's real time. All right, so it's volatile memory. So if you reset, it starts over again, but it's running. It's a running graph showing you your statistical data, and pretty handy. Now, I don't have any. We can only display one page at a time, so it'd be handy to have a button that can get to that. So let me go back to setup mode here, and let's actually let me go back to our other screen here, the my screen, and I'm going to copy this trigger button here. So what I'll do is I'll copy this button that we made earlier, and I'll paste a copy of it down here, and I'll just put it over here. And what we'll do is we'll change it. We'll make this be our stats button, and instead of issuing the trigger command, we'll have this change or switch page to our stats page. And then what we'll do is we'll copy this button, and we'll put a button on the stats page that brings us back. So if I go to the stats screen, I can paste this button. So you can see you can cut and paste things, by the way, copy and paste things between screens if you want. And we'll make this be, let's just call it back. So it goes back, and we'll make this change to back to my screen. So you can make buttons that switch between pages if you want. And again, to illustrate this, we go to run mode. And you can see I can click my button back, and there is my inspection. I can go between the screens here. If I want to view my stats, I can click this and go back. So you can build buttons that go between different screens if you want, if you have different pages and screens that you want to view. One more note as far as adding things to the screen. Let me switch to the stats screen because there's some space on this one. You can also drag items, data items, directly from the results list here. So if I click on there, so for example, this whatever tool you click on, tool number 5, if I want to grab this distance and add that to a screen, I can literally just drag it right in that way if I want. Or you can also drag things in directly from this data list. All right, so tool settings, tool results. So again, from here, like for example, match percentage, I could just grab this, drag it in directly from there if you want. Even tool settings if you want. So if there's a certain tool setting that you want to have access to, like for example, let me just blob, and let's say detection color, for example. I can pull that in, and then that's an allowable setting. So you can drag from the data list or results list also when you're adding items to screens and pages. Okay, so once you have your screen built out, and I mentioned this earlier, you can actually register this as your own template if you want. So if you want to save this as your own template, let me go back to setup mode here for one. And then if you go to the page, oh, I don't want to add another page, I'm sorry. If you go to the page list, say you want to export, export the screen or save it as a template. Just right click on it, and I could register this as a template if I want. And then you can pull that in. So let's call it my template. Oh, I already have that. I'll rewrite what's already there. I'll call it my template. I'll overwrite it. And just to show you, for example, when you're adding screens, you can use template. And if you use if you save your template, you can pull your template in, and it will use your template. Of course, it's the same one I just made, but you can also register your own templates. By the way, you can also, this was mentioned earlier as well, you can export and import screens just by using the export and import as well. So custom screen can be used as a tab within the VS creator as you're running, so you can use it as part of this interface. You can move these tabs around, of course, as needed, but it can be used in combination with the dashboard and everything as part of your VS Creator interface. But you can also view it in a web browser. So if you want to, you can simulate this by first make sure you're in run mode in your simulator. But let me open up my browser. I already have it opened ahead of time here, and I'm connected to the local host. So if you're going to use the simulator, you can type in localhost in your address bar and connect to the simulator screen. But you can see we're seeing the screen here. We have the different views, different screens. Right now you're seeing one of those sample ones that was in here, but if I change to my screen, you can see, by the way, if I hover over the top, that's that built-in menu that's there already as a default. So we can change between screens. So let me get it back to my screen. But you can see if I hit the trigger button, it's triggering, but I'm viewing it via a web browser. And if I want to see that stat screen, just click that. So you can interact with your VS directly with a web browser when it's running. All right, so as long as you can access it through a web browser. If you're connecting to a live camera, you would just simply type in the IP address of the camera. It may prompt you for the username and password of the account, but you can connect directly with a browser. So pretty handy as far as interfacing with the VS camera.